the symposium. Ooh, did you start the recorder? Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I have not done this before, so this is a new experience for me. Welcome. The Channel Islands chapter for the California Native Plant Society is having this symposium to help you start having habitat in your garden. I was asked to make a few announcements before we started our program tonight. We're having our plant sale right now, and if you go onto our Facebook page, you could get connected to the information for our plant sale. The plant sale is still open until Wednesdays, so if you are interested in buying any plants, you need to get on it by Wednesday. So if you go to our Facebook page, which is the California Native Plant Society Channel Islands, there's information about our plant sale. Also, we're having our meeting for December is going to be wreath making with native plants. And so you can also get information from the Facebook page on when that is. It's coming up soon. Okay, so tonight, hopefully you guys have looked at the Doug Ptolemy videos. They get you in the mood for why it's so important to have habitat in your gardens. And Cynthia is the director at Calflora, and she knows her database really well. She's here to tell us about it. And tonight, what she's going to be doing is telling us about the section, which is going to be focusing on what you can put for your specific area, for your environment in your garden. And so it's a method of finding what plants would be good in your area. And so those would be the ones that would be creating habitat for organisms in your area. So I'm going to let her go now and do it.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. And if you have questions, Andrea asks that you type them into the chat.
Thank you.
And if it's kind of an urgent, you need to know now to be able to understand what I'm talking about, do it at that second. And let's see, I'll be monitoring the chat. How about that? This is mostly a presentation about the planting guide, which is what Andrea asked me to talk about, and also about Calflora is what grows here. To start off, let's talk about what Calflora is. We are a 501c3 nonprofit plant database. We provide information on wild California plants for conservation, education, and appreciation. Here is the team and a lot of dedicated volunteers. If you're interested in volunteering, we have COVID safe tasks that you can do from your computer on your own time. And I have my master's in GIS, which stands for Geographic Information Science. So I've learned a lot about plants since my tenure at Calflora, which started about 6 years ago. But I'm not a botanist, so I'm learning a lot from all of you. And this database is incredible, and I've learned also more and more about how Calflora works, and that's what I'm going to talk more about with you and what it contains. All the native and introduced species in the state of California are in the Calflora database. That's over 10,000 species. Over 2 million locations for those species, and that includes points, lines, and polygons. Does that make sense? Does anyone hazard a guess as to why you might have an observation of a plant that's a polygon? And you can type it in the chat if you don't mind. Don't be shy. There's only 16 of us. Maybe nobody, or a line or a polygon, because people always ask me, what good is that? Like, why would you ever do that? And it's also very different from iNaturalist and specimens, you know, to have a good, Madeline, a widespread spread population. Instead of doing a point and then a foot away, another point, and a foot away, another point, you can just say in this acre, there is X species. And it has like a percent, like a plant cover percent or a number of plants. If you want to fill that information in, you can. 30,000 relationships between old and new plant names. As you know, the plant names change, which can be very hard to keep up with. So whether you search for an old name or a new name, you'll find it in Calflora. And 300,000 plant photos. A lot of our photos do come from Cal Photos, which is part of the UC system, but more and more now are from Calflora observations. And we have about 80,000 unique e-visitors each month, 2,600 a day, and that number has gone up. I mean, it's not really a surprise, but since March, when COVID started and when people were spending more times inside and on their computer, we got a lot more visitors. And then we have about 4,000 active data contributors. I know Andrea has observations in Calflora. Do any of you also have observations in Calflora? Write in the chat if you do. Like that could be a survey, like a plant list. That could be a photo with a location associated with it. That could be something you pulled in from iNaturalist if you put your photos into iNaturalist. Could be anything. So maybe all of the 16, only Andrea and I are the ones with Calflora observations. Let me just, let's see. Okay. Well, hopefully by the end of this presentation, you too will be motivated to add some information to Calflora. So we don't just serve Calflora observations, we serve observations from lots of different sources, including the California Consortium of Herbaria, some filtered iNaturalist data, we get EDD maps data. So it's not just what's in Calflora that came, it's called like native Calflora. It's from lots of different places, all in one place, so that when you're doing a search, like looking at the planting guide and trying to figure out what will grow best in your garden or restoration site, all those observations from all those sources inform the database to give you your answers. As important as what we are is what we're not. Because it's Cal, the Cal thing, people think that we're part of the UC system, but we're not. We're our own nonprofit. We're also not part of Cal Photos. They generously share their photos with us so that we can serve Cal Photos photos of plants with information about a species in the database, but we're not officially part of them. We're not part of the California Invasive Plant Council. They're their own nonprofit. And you guys probably do know we're not part of CNPS. CNPS is its own nonprofit also. So we are our own 501c3 nonprofit, and this is our 20-year anniversary. Yoo-hoo! And I know it's kind of funny to say what we're not, but people always think we're part of the UC system. So I just want to make it very clear that we're not. Nor do we get any funding from the UC system. So now that's always the second part of the question. For today, I'd like to talk about Calflora taxon report pages, which a taxon report is like a plant profile for all those 10,000 species, but obviously we're only going to look at a couple. Map layers, which you probably haven't used before and are very exciting. The planting guide. Number 4 is actually going to be what grows here, because Andrea asked me to talk about what grows here also, and then your questions. So first, these are our most visited pages. This might look familiar to you if you've used Calflora before. There's one of these so-called taxon report pages for each wild plant species in California. I'm going to go over what you can find on these pages. The native status is at the top, and if it is an invasive plant, we have a link here to the California Invasive Plant Council. If it's a rare plant, we have a link to either CNDDB or CNPS, Rare Plant Inventory. And then also we have quadrangle data for some invasive plants that we get from Calipsy and some rare plants we get from CNDDB. So we serve information. This arundo is in this quad somewhere, and if you wanted to drill down and find out exactly where, you could figure out who said it was in this quad and talk to them. Alternate names also included. So JEF is the Jepson E flora. And for this Pacific aster, it used to be called all three of these different things. So if you're still in, 2015 or 2005 or 1999, it's okay. We all are. And you can find it under any of these species and it'll take you, it's called crosswalking you to land at the Pacific aster. We also have nursery availability for native species. If you want to know where to get them that's close to you, you can find that here, and we're going to go over that also in the planting guide, how to figure out the nursery availability for the plants that grow or that should grow well where you're planting. Here is an example of the nursery and seed sources. And it occurs to me that during the COVID, I don't know if all of these are open or if they're, I don't know. So once you figure out where it used to be available, you could, and what's near you, then you could contact them and see what's going on. Any questions about the taxon report pages before I go on to map layers? I'm looking in the chat. No questions. You guys are so quiet. Come on, Madeline. I'm leaning on you here. You've answered that one question. Oh, John. Okay, so there's also someone else from Calflora who just joined this call named John Malpass. So if we have any questions I can't answer, he'll be able to answer them. Here is the serpentine layer that Calflora has. And why would you use the serpentine layer? For instance, I'm watching the chat, nothing's happening, so I'll answer my own question. If you wanted to know which plants had serpentine affinity and were in this purple serpentine area, you could go to what grows here and use the serpentine map layer and click on this purple one and say, I want to know which plants grow here. And some might grow there without having affinity for serpentine, but probably most do. We have so many layers. Here's just a few more watersheds, and we also have subwatersheds. So if you wanted to know what grows in a specific subwatershed or watershed in your area, or what in the area you're interested in, or the area you're researching, you could look at that. Precipitation layers, and we didn't make these up. We get them from Prism, which is up in Oregon. So these are all kind of standard map layers that we serve on Calflora, but we are getting from other well-known sources. And protected areas, all those little like pastel-ish colors, each of those is its own protected area. So if you have a favorite hiking area that's a protected area, you could go and say, okay, I want to know, without drawing like the funny border around it, you could just click on it, have protected area layer open, click on it and say, what grows in my favorite hiking area without drawing a funny polygon around it. Because some of those national forests have the checkerboard pattern. That's hard to draw a polygon for the checkerboard pattern. So that's one of my favorite ones. Of course, we have a layer for CNPS chapters. So you can look at your chapter and see who is the most prolific data contributor as of this year, or as of whatever year you want. Or look at, compare to other chapters. And actually, now that we're talking about CNPS chapters, what some chapters have done, two specifically recently, San Luis Obispo, like Madeline's from San Luis Obispo, and then also Redbud, is they took their plant lists, their checklists, their surveys, whatever you want to call them, which is a list of species seen in a specific and a distinct area, and added them to Calflora. So I was thinking, I haven't really done this, I was thinking about getting a little competition going where you have CNPS chapter versus like who can get the most surveys, plant lists, checklists into Calflora. But if your chapter wanted to do that, I would be happy to help, and it's fun and worthwhile, really valuable. Okay, any questions about the planting guide? Any questions about the map layers before we go into the planting guide? I'm looking at the chat.
Nothing.
Such a quiet group. Okay. Well, let's see if the plant, let's see if I can. I'm gonna minimize the chat. So Andrea, if you're able to kind of watch the chat, that'll help.
Yeah.
So John House. Let's see if I scoot this over. Do you see my internet browser Chrome now? Andrea, do you see it?
I see a place to put in data. Is that what I'm supposed to be seeing?
It should say your name under Observer. Do you see your name?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So let's go. Let's just show off a little bit. Okay, let's start. Let me take it slowly. Start from the beginning. Here's the Calflora homepage at calflora.org. There are lots of different ways to use Calflora. If you wanted to see I know that Andrea has some observations in Calflora. Anywhere in the state, as long as I spelled her name correctly.
Yeah.
Yes. 11 records in here, and here they all are on the map and then as a table result down below. So if we scroll, oh, you're part of the cooperative weed management area. Okay. So if we scroll through these, we can see, oh, she has some photos in here of this weeds mariposa. One photo here of this Mexican feathergrass. It's a nice photo. And her location description, county, date, source, observer. Obviously it's her because that's what I was searching by. Plant name and ID, and you can sort, let's sort by plant name. And if you want to see more information about this species, you can click on the scientific name. And that takes you to our so-called taxon report pages. And I was asking some of you to register with Calflora, and you get a more customized experience actually also if you're, so the fact that my name is showing up here means that I'm signed in. So this is the weeds mariposa lily that Andrea saw. It's a rare plant. What do you think about this one in Monterey? This is this map shows the distribution of the species. These are so the scientific name, author, common name, perennial herb, native, bloom period. Andrea noted that in Southern California, things sometimes bloom longer than is on the Calflora bloom period. This is an average across the state. Okay. And then a lot of links to information like plant characteristics. It tolerates, it's low water tolerant. Here's the elevation that it tolerates, annual precipitation that it tolerates, wet season temperature range, soils, the pH, the salinity. And this information all feeds into the planting guide, which is our next topic, for every single species. So good job, Andrea, with all of your observations in here. And now let's go to the plant. What'd you say?
I obviously need to put in more.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, 11's good, but more is better. Here on the left again is a link to the planting guide. So why don't we do an address or a location near you guys? Does somebody want to type into the chat? If you don't feel comfortable putting your address in the chat, you can just put a street and a city and a zip code. So I'm watching the chat for an address or a location. If you want to know about a restoration area, you could put that into instead. Such a quiet group. Okay, thank you, Gail. Thank you, Paul. We'll do Paul's and Gail's. So here's Gail's. The botanic garden. You know, that's going to be interesting. So, there might be, theoretically, everything in Calflora is wild plants and not planted plants. But let's just see if people have put in observations from the garden.
There's plants that are in the canyon that are native, that are just native to that site without being planted.
Okay, well, I hope that there aren't any planted plants in Calflora for this area, because that could throw off our results. So here we did a search. This blue arrow here folds up the map so we can look at our results more carefully. So 294 plants, that is a lot. So let's narrow down our criteria and say within 10 miles. In addition to being in the same county, they need to be within 10 miles of this exact location that I have here. Yes, we want to use soil factors to choose plants. Yes, we want to omit plants at the edge of their tolerances. So we want things that really will grow well here without a doubt. And then also, yes, please, that are easy to establish. And if you wanted to do plants that grow well with another thing that you already have planted, you could type in that name here. So let's search. Should be less than 294. I think it'll be like 150 or something with our new criteria. 149, wow, that was close. I'm not usually that close. So here we go. Here's the list. You can group by life form if you want. You have some photos, the bloom period, whether it's a pollinator or not. I just love looking at photos. I could do this all day. And once you get, if you get to one, you say, oh yeah, that's the one, that's what I want to plant. Well, first of all, you could print this entire list. How do you do that? You go to Tools, Send as an email, download as a spreadsheet. Either way. But let's look at this Mahonia by clicking on the scientific name. So we could go to the taxon report about it. You guys know what that looks like. Here we have the distribution, we have the species, subspecies and varieties, alternate names, toxicity, oh, major toxicity. Interesting. Communities, nursery availability. You can get to nursery availability there. You can also click on CNPLX to see the nursery availability for this species and figure out which of these nurseries are close to you. And location suitability. Based on this exact location that Gail gave us, we have the plant tolerates 10 to 1440 meters, and the value, like how high is it at this garden, is 231 meters. The precipitation, the plant tolerates 17 to 119 inches. At this location, it's about 23 inches, that's per year, and so on. You can scroll through it in soil again. And if you're wondering, why on earth did that species show up on my list that should never grow here, could never grow here, that is crazy, you can look here and for any of these species. So if you click on the scientific name, oh yeah, Calicortis, location suitability, nursery availability, and the taxon report. So let's do another one. Let's start from the top again. Homepage, planting guide, Thousand Oaks. Sloiter family says Thousand Oaks. Thousand Oaks. Okay, where's Thousand Oaks? Let's back it out a little so I see where it is. I don't know your area as well as you guys do. Okay, got it. Search. Ungroup by life form. Pull up 242. Again, if that's too many, go to more criteria and change. And let's see, is this a riparian area? I don't think so.
It's got riparian areas in it, but
so I guess the Sloiter family would have to say if it was, you know, maybe if you moved your point over to where the riparian area is, then you could check riparian and whether or not it's shady. But let's try again, 242 down to 110. That's my guess. System thinking hard. 121, okay. And if you want to know more about the photo, you can also click on the photo. So this is Angelique's photo. So if you see a photo you like and you want to see more about it, you can click on photo. So that's how the planting guide works. How you download your results is to go to tools, send as an email, or download as a spreadsheet. And Andrea also wanted me to go over what grows here, which we could go, oh, okay. Madeline also typed in one more thing here. Copy. Let's do, since Madeline's been so active in the chat, I think we should reward her with searching for her area. San Luis Obispo County. Oh, right, because she's from SLO. Fold up the map. So these will be different. From those of you from Ventura, Channel Island, CNPS, you might be surprised because this is not your county. So here we go, 82. That was with really tight constraints. Ooh la la, where is that available? Here we go. Okay. Oh, that's one of my pictures. That's so funny. So any questions about the planting guide before I move on to what grows here? I'll be patient. You guys must have a question. I could think of a question myself.
What's your question?
Well,
here's a question.
Yeah, good. Okay, Nancy says, is there info if the plants are toxic to pets? No, but if you wanted to know if they're toxic to pets, I think you could figure it out by Googling, or you could say, coyote brush, is it toxic to pets?
Well, there was information on one of them that said toxicity.
Right. John Malpaz, do you want to unmute yourself and talk about what toxicity means? I think I can try and unmute you. John Malpaz also works for Calflora. He's also suggesting that I close some of my windows here because it's too overwhelming for him. Ask to unmute. Okay, I think you're unmuted. Toxicity, John? We saw that on a Calflora report page. I don't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, now I hear you.
It's for people. It's from a state list, but I mean, an abundance of caution would be that if it's poisonous to people, it's probably poisonous to dogs too.
If that's the pet that Nancy is thinking of, chickens. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about the planting guide?
So you notice this one doesn't have anything about toxicity on it.
Yeah, so I guess it's not toxic. I don't remember which one was toxic that we were looking at before. Does anybody remember which species that was?
Berberis.
Oh, right.
Pineda.
Uh-huh. That's right. Yes. Carol asks, are the results only native plants? Yeah, if we included invasive plants on this list, it wouldn't be a good idea, but I mean, invasive plants grow so well in so many places that it's not so special. It's not hard to figure out what invasives are going to grow there, and it's kind of, you got to figure out which. For natives, it's more of a challenge. So, but no, we don't recommend that anybody plant invasives. Native to the site, not just native. Oh, because yeah, that's a nuance. So some plants are native to some areas and not to others. John, do you want to unmute yourself and talk about that? You're unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what the 10 miles in the county does, especially the 10-mile criteria.
Oh, right.
So with a county like San Bernardino, you need the 10 miles. Yeah.
Right. And Madeline says that she wants to play around with this and you know, change the constraints and stuff. So what you can do, in addition to going to tools and downloading your results, you can bookmark this page. But if you want to share this with someone you live with, you can just take this entire URL link and send it. I'm just going to post it to everybody in the meeting. Well, I don't know, maybe I'll take out that part of the address. Search. And now I'll take this and share it with everybody in the meeting. So that's a good way to share your information for every single page, Calflora page. Like if you want to show somebody this taxon report page, you can just copy and paste this link and send it to them. If you want to go to observation search and say, where does the species grow and who saw it? There's 1,233 records. And that is including Consortium of California Herbaria and iNaturalist. So that's a lot of records. And you could just take this and send it to somebody else. If you wanted them to only see what was in the map area, you could zoom in and say search only in the map area. So out of 1233, 270 are in this map area. And then if you send them this, they'll only see the map area you have selected. And I talked about layers, but I didn't show you how to use them yet. So layers, you can add county lines, it's always nice. Streams, and under region is where those protected areas are. Let's fold this up and go. All of these pastel areas are protected areas. There's that checkerboard from the National Forest I was talking about. And if you want to know what it's called, you can click on it and it shows up here. So Los Padres National Forest, Santa Cruz Island Reserve. Those are kind of obvious. Let's see if there's a Point
one
Mugu State
up
Park.
by the top.
Yeah. Hopper Mountain National Wild. So wherever you click, the name shows up down there. And that comes from our California Protected Areas database, CNPS chapter. And then again, if you click on it, it shows you which chapter it is, your chapter, of course. Let's see what observations. So in this selected area, since 2020, not one species, but anything, how many observations? Well, that might be too many. Since 0601 of this year, let's just see what you guys have in your CNPS region since June. And that's including CCH and iNaturalist. 1279. Okay. Back it out a little. And if you wanted to know more about any of these, does anybody want to guess? John, don't guess. What's the difference between these colors? Like what is green? What is purple? What is pink? Ooh, I think it's actually, yeah. I'll show you. Symbology. So purple is a simple point. Pink is a line or a polygon, and green is a survey or a checklist. So whose survey or checklist is this? Do you think this might be somebody you know? Caltrans. Do you guys know Newton Wong, Rico Ramirez, or Josh Miller?
Nope.
No? So if you wanted to drill down and see, ooh, Mike Russler, look at those photos of Arctostaphylos. So beautiful. I won't get too distracted here, but if you wanted to say that you like them, you can say you like them here. Wow. And then John Malpaz was suggesting we limit it to just native plants. We're still in your CNPS chapter area, and search and see what we get for just native. $1,087. Mike Russler. Do you guys know Mike Russler? You don't know him, huh? Mm-hmm. So this is an iNaturalist record, J.M. Tharp. And you can tell by the ID where things are coming from. CCH starts with CCH, iNaturalist starts with IN, and the other records start with different, depending on where it's from. different letters. So I got a little distracted. We were talking about the planting guide, asking if you had any questions, and then we were going to go on to what grows here. Any questions before I go on to what grows here? Madeline has a question. Yes. INAT, we do a monthly poll, or it might be a push. I think it's a poll. And CCH, we're switching over from CCH1 to CCH2. I don't know if you know that that is happening. In general, CCH1 is switching over to CCH2, so we are updating our CCH records to reflect that change. Once it's done, we're hoping to also be refreshing that monthly. Other pulls and pushes we do like regularly. I don't know exactly which ones you'd want to know about. Oh, but Madeline, since you're asking about iNaturalist, let's just do this. We were doing this with Andrea earlier, before everybody got on the call. From the homepage, add observations is what I hope all of you will do. You can use a phone app, Observer Pro. You can upload your photos. And if the photos are georeferenced, then it's just easy peasy. You add the scientific name or the common name. If they are not geotagged, so say you took them a long time ago or with a camera that doesn't have GPS, then you just have to pinpoint on the map where you saw it. Plant observation entry, you can also upload photos there and it'll pull in the location from the photo if it's embedded in it. Survey checklist entry, that's what Redbud and Madeline's chapter have been very, very busy doing, getting all their chapter checklists into Calflora. And add records for my naturalist. Madeline, if you have a INAT handle, you can tell me what it is. Otherwise, we'll use Andrea's. Or if anybody has an INAT handle, why don't you type it in the chat? Oh, it was Carol, actually, who asked, how often are these records updated? I was thinking it was Madeline, but Madeline's is next. Okay, INAT handles, anybody? I'm going to go with Andrea's. Andrea Incarp.
Incarp.
Okay. And these will be Andrea's records that are not already in Calflora, because if they're already there, then they don't show up in the search because you don't need to add them. 384, wow, haven't been added yet. So let's fold up the map. You really get around, look at that. You're all over the place. Fold up the map, sort by date. So 2 weeks ago, this one hasn't been pulled in yet, probably because it was just 2 weeks ago. Do you want me to add this one, Andrea?
Fine.
Fine. Okay, so clicked on the ID, add to Calflora. Salix, that is such a great photo. Add to Calflora.
I actually took it for the parasites that are in the buds.
Oh. So ideally, instead of me being logged in as me to be pulling in Andrea's observations, Andrea would log in as Andrea and pull in her own observations. And she knows how to do that now, right, Andrea?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do that. So that's how you add iNaturalist records. Now that was Carol's question. Madeline's question, are the plants from the planting guide only selected from observation records? Which ceanothus did you search for? Let's just figure it out. It's fun to kind of drill down into why something is or is not showing up. And Madeline, as we recall, is in San Luis Obispo. So we'll say, oh, sorry, I'm skipping around. From the homepage, San Luis Obispo County. Here is the scientific name of the plant that she's wondering about. Oh, misspelled. Let's go to the name wizard. Impresses for Nimmo. Okay, here we go. Search. So your question is, why is this not showing up in your results? Good thing I closed all those tabs, John, because now I have to do it again. Let's go back to the home page, planting guide, and hers was, oh, no, I can just click on that link that I pasted in. Oh, no, not there. Okay, I'll copy and paste it over here. Copy, paste, search. So the one that she's asking about Ceanothus impressus. Does grow in San Luis Obispo. Planting guide. So let's see, Ceanothus. So there's a couple Ceanothuses in the results, but not the one she's asking about. So here's the one she's asking about. What are the characteristics? Oh, climate data not available. Soil data. John, do you want to start talking a little bit about this? This is very puzzling.
It might be rare.
Well, it should say here if it's, oh, you're right, it is rare. Is that what's going on?
I think so. They don't want people pulling the seeds.
So John, can you unmute yourself? You should talk about this. Where did he go? How do I unmute him? I lost that ability. John Malpaz. You could just stay unmuted, John. I'm not worried about you making a racket over there. John Malpaz. Where did he go? Here, ask to unmute. Okay, you're on.
Yeah, it's a 1B.2. I mean,
Okay.
it's extremely rare. So that just means we don't have any points for it. What we have are these quad points that we get from CNDDB, and we don't, they're so, I mean, a quad is a huge area, so we just.
We have these CCH points for it, but their location quality isn't high enough.
Well, yeah, look, you can fold the map out of the way. You can see that low.
But this one's high. Frederick Klein. So let's sort by this. So CCH, low. So if it's low location quality, we don't use it in the planting guide.
I mean, for it to show up, it would have to have a kind of a handful of records that were of medium or high.
I see. So this one doesn't count.
Yeah.
Oh no, here's the high one. That one doesn't cut it. So that's why it's rare, and we don't have enough high location quality points to be able to say where it will grow well for that species. And that's why when you click on the tolerances, the plant characteristics, it says low water tolerant, but the climate and soil are not available because we don't have enough points. Is that right? Because this location count information here?
Right.
So we could say climate data not available, soil data not available due to low location count colon or something like that. So it's more clear why it's not showing up. Good question, Madeline. I lost the chat. Chat 3. Okay.
The other thing is, I don't know if you had like easy, but easy checked in the planning guide, but
I think we did.
It's probably going to eliminate all rare plants. You do, yeah. I mean, it's still not going to show up because there's only 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In order to get a rare plant in the nursery trade, you have to have somebody like the Botanic Garden who takes something like Nevin's barberry. It used to live in the San Fernando Valley, and now the San Fernando Valley is all houses. And so they grew up Nevin's barberry. And so there's like a whole bunch of it at the Botanic Garden, but there's not much of it left in nature.
Uh-huh. Madeline, do you know at least one location where this Ceanothus grows so we could just add it? So we have a little bit more information in here. And I'll say that you saw it, not me.
Yeah, but watch out for those
She's
plants.
seen it. What?
Watch out for those predators.
Well, we can obscure it. But she's seen it for sale. I don't know if she's seen it in the wild or if anybody has seen it in the wild.
Okay, so you have it specifically as Nepomuensis. There are other types of it.
You mean, what do you mean?
Go to the parent.
A subspecies. See, there's
Impresses.
a variety Napoleon, but maybe it's variety impressus, which isn't as rare, maybe. See the different subspecies, the varieties?
So you could go to the Impresses page and just see what it looks like.
See if that's different. I guess not.
1B2.
Oh, it's also got the, wow.
Okay, sorry, that didn't work.
But let's say, so Madeline, it seems, Madeline, if you want to unmute yourself, it's getting a little unwieldy with all the typing, but she doesn't know where it grows wild. She thinks it's planted in the native garden that she knows about. If it would be fun to add a species, it certainly doesn't need to be a rare one, to Calflora to show you all just how to add an observation or even a photo.
Okay, I unmuted her.
Okay, thank you. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I know it's the Ceanothus that's native to the Napomo Mesa, which is where I live, even though my address is Arroyo Grande. But what I don't know is the wild locations of it, because there's a Napomo native garden down in Napomo, which is just south of me, and they have it, but I imagine they've planted it there. Their garden looks like a wild area, but I'm not sure if any of the stuff was already existing there, because I don't know what they did and didn't plant.
Mhm.
But so I either got it there or I got it from the Slow Botanical Garden, because we have plants there and we propagate them and sell them.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't even realize it was rare, but that's why I was surprised not to see it. It probably doesn't show up on the list because it's rare, but when I went to do things, I thought, well, certainly they'll show the Ceanothus that's in my area, you know, the one to my region, but that's probably why they didn't, because it's rare.
Mm-hmm. Well, you are a wealth of information. That is wonderful. Does anybody have questions before we go on to what grows here? I was going to have you guys add an observation or a photo to Calflora, but nobody put in a species that they wanted to see added, so I'm not sure. Maybe I'll go to what grows. How about be thinking about that while we go over what grows here? So let's go to what grows here from observation search. We were looking at Andrea's 11 records. And let's go to tools. What grows here at this location? Under tools, you can also find help. How do I use this page? A video about how to use observation search. There's a million ways to use it. Data dictionary. What does everything mean? Why is it in here? And then what grows here jumps over to a new tab and search. Something's wrong. What grows here? Why is it? Oh, maybe because it's too urban. Let's go out a little bit. Let's open up the layers, go to region, go to protected area, and zoom out a little bit. Let's go down here. So, Point Mugu State Park.
It's not in Santa Barbara County. I don't know if it's down there.
There, oh, it's a lot. Okay. So in Point Mugu State Park, say you're, am I pronouncing that right? Mugu?
Magoo.
Mugu.
Anglicized way of saying it anyway.
In this, if you were gonna, what's a place that you guys like to go? I can also just type in a location name here. Where do you like to go hiking?
That's a nice place.
That's a nice place? Okay. So if you didn't find it on the map, you could type in the name here and it would show up. And then here are all the species. Let's change the results to not group by life form. Fold up the map. Here's what grows there, Mugu. And if you wanted to know only which native plants that are blooming in, we're still in November, blooming in November in the selected background, search 37. These are blooming now. Is that true? Are these blooming now? Have you guys seen these blooming?
Those are at the beach, and beach things bloom weirdly.
Wow. That's really a lot to have in bloom right now. So, and you could print you could, so I sometimes lead hikes with kids, and they like to see the pictures, of course. And so you can print this page, tools, printable version of this page, which also functions as an illustrated plant list. You can share this with anybody, and they'll see the same thing you're seeing. What blooms in November that is native in Point Magoo. If you want to know it's going to be blooming starting tomorrow, as you know, it's not quite that precise. 22 as of tomorrow, and a lot of these bloom year round. Let's go under tools, so printable version of this page, observation search at this location. So there's 6 records of this sticky sand verbena. Who you can see more about them by going to observation search, or you can, let's open up the map again, add them to the map. Let's make them closer to the color that they really are. Display points. So that is where they grow. That's surprising they would grow up here, isn't it? Isn't it?
There, someone put them up there.
Oh, this is an old. So this is a checklist. Yeah. So the checklist is kind of.
Munz is a good person, though.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. But this one will show up with low location accuracy because it's coming from a checklist. Let's check about this one. Yeah, also a checklist. So that's why that happened. But these ones are probably accurate. And if you wanted to go and visit them again, you could. You could get these to show up on Observer Pro if you want to go find them with your phone. Oops, that was the text on report page. Oh, these are rare. Wow. Where is this? Make it more purplish. Display, also on the coast, and some David Greenberger in February. So you could go find them that way. That's one way to use what grows here. There's a lot of different criteria and filters you can change. So you can choose rare plants only, non-native, calypsy listed, life form, bloom month, 2 or more photos. Oh, that's for the people who are trying to, let's see, I bet there's no, and if we say bloom month any, these will be the species that are lacking in photos. Oh, none. Wow. No native, or there's one not native species. So if you know this one, we need photos for it. Clearly, there aren't any. So that's what that means. The results, you can have them in photo format or simple. And that includes the hyperlinks, or if you just want text to copy and paste into your Excel, that's what you can do here. Just start here, copy and paste it, open up your Excel. You can order by scientific name, by record count, or by family. Location quality. If you're going to be going to find these observations again, definitely choose high here. Minimum records per plant. When I lead a bunch of kids, I want to make sure that they can actually find what we're looking for. So I set this at least at 10 and sometimes at 100, depending on where exactly we're going. Otherwise, we might not come across it. You can search for specific plants if you don't want to look for everything in this area. By family. You can also create a plant list. This is a bit much, but if you wanted to create a plant list, you could, and then you could search for that plant list only. I heard Andrea say that you guys are doing your plant sale. Some chapters are creating plant lists or illustrated plant lists for their plant sales, and then you can share that, with whoever, with everybody. And if you wanted to display all the points, native as blue and non-native as pink, you could do that. Or you can create your own palette and, give every different species that you're interested in its own special color and save it. So, any questions about, let's see, there's a couple questions in chat that I'll address now. How is plant ID confirmed for each entry? Gail asked that. The way that's done is let's go to an observation that's not CCH. Well, All right, let's go to my observations. So these are my observations that actually, well, that's a little confusing because that's Andrea's, but that's just I pulled hers in. Goodness gracious, that wasn't a good idea. Let's go to observation search. And in this area, in map area, which native plants grow? Let's see if we see something questionable. So cure morse, that's not going to be questionable. Anything by cure is pretty much good. A lot of Malacothamnus by cure because he's studying it. Marissa Persad. Let's say you wanted more information about this milkweed that Marissa saw. It is a very nice photo. I'm going to go ahead and like it. That looks like milkweed to me, but if I had a question about it or if I wasn't sure about her ID, I would add a comment here and say, actually, I think it's not this milkweed, I think it's this other milkweed, and then submit it. So that comment, she then receives an email saying Cynthia Powell commented on your observation, and she can come in and counter my attack, or she can say, you're right, and change it. And that is how plant IDs can be confirmed. Cade asked, what are the location quality parameters? There's high, medium, and low. Where is that matrix, John? It's under observation search, help. Am I in the right place? Location quality, yeah, quality. About observation data sets, location quality. Let me make this a little bigger. So here, if the radius is, what is this? The radius is less than or equal to 44 meters. Really? It's high. 76 even is high. 139 and 489 are medium. These numbers are funny. And then these are all low. And then this is converting that radius into a square meter area and converting it into acres. And how we came up with these numbers to make high, medium, and low, John Malpaz is telling me that Ron Vanderhoff came up with these numbers. Really?
No, that was for another question.
Oh, so how did we come up with these numbers?
Just the kind of data we had, it sort of fell into these groups.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. So Cade, that was your question. Does that help? Okay, I hope so.
Paul Lerman had a question. It was at 7:45.
Oh, I missed it.
I did use it extensively on Santa Rosa Island. Would that show up on the list for Santa Rosa Island?
Oh, was he talking about the Ceanothus? Paul, are you still there? Do you want to go off mute? Can we ask him to go off mute, or do we have to take him off mute?
You have to take him off mute. I can't find him.
Maybe we could put everybody off mute now that it's at
Put
the
everybody
end.
off
Yeah,
mute.
so now you can ask your questions.
Let's see, where do we do that?
Unmute all.
Okay, here. Unmuted all. Everybody can talk now. If you have to manually maybe do your own.
Okay. So my question was, I used iNaturalist a lot on Santa Rosa Island. Handle. So I'm wondering if that showed up on the plant lists from that island, even though I don't have a handle.
How did you enter them into iNaturalist? Did you have a name maybe, if not a handle?
No, what I did, I just looked stuff up. So I don't know, I'm not very good with computer stuff. But I was trying to identify, I identified over 100 plants that I was observing for my research paper out there. So I was out there photographing lots of stuff, wondering what it was.
So you saw the plants, but you didn't tell anybody about it.
I don't know. I thought I put them on the list. So on my phone, I have a whole list of all the plants that I photographed to identify them through iNaturalist.
So he didn't know what they were, but they were put on iNaturalist.
Well, let's see what grows here. for Santa Rosa Island. Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. I went
Uh,
area for over a year, and so there was a lot of stuff.
well, I don't know if you don't have a Calflora, like if I can't look up Paul, what's your last name?
Lerma.
Paul Lerma, because if you're not adding data to Calflora, I mean, we can look you up, but if you don't have any data in Calflora, we're not going to find anything.
You know what? Go ahead and try it, because I remember setting it up, trying to figure out how to use the thing. So it might be there, because I might have put a couple of plants on there just to see if I could do it.
Nope.
Okay.
So
Just have to learn that then.
do you still have your photos?
Yeah.
Okay, so here you're my guinea pig, sort of, except that you won't have to share your screen. So Paul, what I'd really like you to do is first of all register with Calflora up in the upper right corner. So it'll say not Cynthia Powell, but Paul Lerma. And then go to Calflora, add observations, multiple photo upload. And I'm going to give you a recording of this presentation so you can follow this
Oh,
through
good.
again.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, multiple photo upload. And here's where you add your photos. You can copy and paste them over. You can get them. Oh, I have to close this chat to be able to do this. Okay.
I do have lots of photos too that are separate from the iNaturalist, because I photographed a lot of plants while I was out there. Would I put those on there?
Yeah.
Or,
I want all of it.
okay, because there's a quite a bit. And
Hopefully, since you took them with
each
your
month.
phone, this globe won't be red. Do you guys want to hazard a guess as to why this globe is red? I gotta get the chat open again here. Oh no, you're unmuted. Say it out loud. Go for it.
No idea.
Oh yeah.
Good answer. Good answer. Okay. It's because this photo that I pulled in from my desktop is not georeferenced. Let's try another one and see if I can get a blue globe. I don't think I'm going to get any blue globes. If you take it with your phone, it will be georeferenced, but none of these are going to, these aren't actually even my photos, to tell you the truth. Okay.
A lot of photos on a flash drive, because that's where I put them.
Great. So you'll pull them in off your flash drive. You can create multiple observation. You can add as a single observation, which all these are, or no, sorry, add as multiple observations. Or if you wanted to have all these stack, you can stack it like this and say that's one observation. Obviously not, because that's
Oh, I see. 3
different species. But and then you click on the globe and you say where you were. I'm just going to click there because these are not my photos, and I don't know where the person was. And then Erythran. Okay, if you don't know how to spell, this is helpful. There's a little drop down, and you can pick the genus, and you can stop there, or you can go down to the species if you want to. And then you go to upload observation, and you think you might be done, but you are not quite done. Because we assume, so in iNaturalist, when you put something in, it's published automatically. Like the second your phone has connectivity, I always put my phone in airplane mode when I'm using iNaturalist for non-plants in California, because I don't like it that it just uploads it right away before I get a chance to look at it. In Calflora, you look at it and you decide, so here it is, it's unpublished. Just make this a little bigger. Unpublished. So if I wanted to publish this, which I don't, I would click on the purple pencil and say publish. I could also delete. I can edit it, and I can look at the details. Like the detail will show those 3 different species. There's those 3 photos that I stacked on top of each other. And I have my photo permission set at Creative Commons by non-commercial, which means you can use it as long as you're not selling it or making money off of it. And you guys can change your, you can say Calflora only or Creative Commons, what you want in Calflora. So Paul, I'd like you and everybody else who has some photos to do that. And for your question about Santa Rosa Island, here are all the species that grow there. And once you add your photos from what you saw in Santa Rosa Island to Calflora, they too will show up here. Even if somebody else saw it already, it'll say 12 records, yours will be in there, or 2 for here. Does that make sense?
So the records would be actually the whole set of photos that I put there. Is that correct?
Yep. Oh, each one would be one. So
Oh, okay.
so where did that go? So this one, this is complicated because I have 3 different species, but maybe I should edit it and take 2 out, because you really, each single species is an observation. So I was confused. I added different species, the same observation, then I could publish it and save it, or just save it with just the one. And then I could go back here, add photos, and add those other 2.
So you can save it even if you don't know the species name?
Well, you have to put at least unknown. So if you don't know it, you say unknown, and it'll take that. Actually, it might take anything. Okay, click on the globe. You know, you would zoom in and find exactly where you were before you clicked on it. And then what if I just say pretty? Yeah, it takes anything as long as you write something. And then upload. And then you go here to edit. So then you say edit. You can change the location, you can change the scientific name, you can obscure it if it's rare, publish it. And that's all from my observations. So from the home page, my observations gets you there. Any other questions?
There's 2 new messages. Let's see.
Oh, people still aren't talking, they're writing. But they're unmuted. Madeline is still muted for some reason. Or maybe she's
I'm
I just
unmuted
put a
again.
question.
oh good.
Go
Go ahead.
I just
Go
put a
ahead.
question in the chat room.
What was it?
If you've uploaded something to iNaturalist and you said that monthly iNat gets added to Calflora, is that an automatic thing? I mean, anybody who puts anything in iNaturalist, it will automatically get pushed
No,
into...
you have to set your permissions to let Calflora have it. So if you're looking here from the homepage, if you're trying to add observations, add records from iNaturalist, you put in your handle and you're not seeing anything, it's because your permissions in iNaturalist don't allow us to get it.
Okay, thank you.
That's Carol's question. Nancy was saying poor quality photo. I don't know what that was about.
So I had a question on those steps you were just doing. Were you doing something that, I guess it said my observations somewhere? Was that, it's still, that's viewable by everybody or just you?
No, because who is talking? It's a great question.
This is Madeline.
Madeline, okay. So it's because I'm logged in as me that when I go to the homepage and click on my observations, I see my observations. When you, Madeline, actually, do you have anything in Calflora?
I don't think I have a Calflora ID yet. I haven't used, I mean, I've used it, but I don't think I've logged into it. So.
Is it FEY?
FAY.
FAY. We could just check. So you don't think you have anything in Calflora, so then you would need to go to the upper right. Yeah, these are Faye's, because there's probably a lot of names that have Faye in it. I could have added your first name, but you'll go in and you'll register as a data contributor, and then you'll go to add observations and you'll get these options. And the one that Paul was just asking about was this multiple photo upload. And that's for a good way to add photos if you want to.
Right, so that ended up being under something called My Observations, right?
Yes, exactly.
But what my question was is, are those things specific to me when I'm logged on, or everybody in Calflora can see those?
It's specific to you when you're logged on. So once you're logged on as you, there's a lot of things that are specific to you.
So I can do observations and I'll be there and they're just personal to me. They're not everybody, they're not going to clog everything every's looking at.
No one will be able to see them until you publish them. And speaking of things that are personalized, once you're signed in, you go to My Calflora, My Observations, your profile, so what people see about you and who you are and your skills and your degrees, your groups. I would suggest that all of you join Plant ID help group so that when you add those unknowns, the species, you're not sure what the species is, you got the genus, you don't know the species, you don't know either. As long as you have good photos, wow, 642 people are in this group. You add the observation to this group and they'll help you ID it. Comments, that's what I was showing. Oof, I think it was Carol asking about the accuracy, like what if you have a question about somebody's plant ID. Preferences, like do you want to get emails about certain things? Any searches, you can save your searches and have them show up on Observer Pro. Alerts, if you have a specific area and species or plant list or just area that you're interested in, you get an email alert whenever a specific species or a group of species is added to that area. Plant lists, a lot of CNPS chapters have their plant sale species as a plant list to share it easily as an illustrated plant list, and shape. So if you're reusing a shape over and over again to search for an area, or usually for searches, you can add shapes, and that's all customized for you. Let me open up the chat again. I keep losing it somehow.
This is Madeline again. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I had a question too. There was something I saw, like when you were entering something, and I guess it was a rare plant, you could say something like obscure.
Obscured. Mm-hmm.
So if someone is looking for the locations of a rare plant, just they want to know where the population would normally be, will they not be able to see any of those entries? Is that the deal? Or
They'll be able to see them, but they're, instead of being at an exact lat long, they'll be within the quarter quad. So you'll know which county it's in. You'll know with a quarter quad is about 2 miles by 2 miles in a square.
so you'll see the dot on the map,
Yeah,
but
you'll
just
see it on the
won't
map.
be able to see the GPS.
Yeah, you won't see the
Okay,
exact
okay.
location. Now, if you, the observer, you'll always, if you obscure records so that other people can't see the real lat long, you as the observer will still have access to the real lat long, so you don't lose that, but everybody else won't be able to see it. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. And if you have questions for Calflora, here's the homepage, and down at the bottom of the homepage is our email address. So you can contact us if you have any questions, if you're trying to do some of the stuff we talked about tonight and you can't figure something out. And please do always include your URL. So this is important so we can see what it is that you're looking at. And thank you.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Cynthia.
thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Good, thank you.
Does everybody want to appear?
I think my camera's obscured right now, so I can't.
Oh, we could all show up on video now? Oh, that's a good idea.
See, let's see if I can do it.